You won't work it, don't break the rest, you won't make it. I don't even care where this road leads. All I know is where my heart is.
Boom shakalaka. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world, it is your boy Chris Schul, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother from Ghana, West Africa. That's what I call myself, Sabrina. We have a very special guest here with us, Sabrina Batshon. That's the French pronunciation. Obviously, I'm very sophisticated, so I pronounced it right. But Sabrina is my friend. I'm so proud to call you my friend from I first met you several years ago on a TV show called The Voice Australia. You were one of the finalists under Team Ricky, and you blew the world away with your extraordinary voice. We've had millions of people all around the world viewing these performances from The Voice. I know you've been on many other singing shows, and you've had an amazing career blowing people away with your voice. And obviously, you're still doing your passion. And I want to talk about your journey. I want to talk about, one, how you got into the world of singing, music. You're someone that clearly has been doing this for a long time. And yeah, perhaps go a little deeper, because I've noticed that there are many layers to Sabrina. She's not just a pretty voice and a pretty face. This girl has gotten some scars, has been through some stuff, and we're going to get deep on the Chris Schul Journey podcast. So for those tuning in, buckle up. Things are about to get deep and soulful on this episode of the Chris Schul Journey podcast. Sabrina, tell us about your journey. How did you get involved in music?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. It is an absolute pleasure. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I'm growing. Obviously not in height, because that's never going to happen, but I feel like there's an expansion, and I really enjoy having these challenging conversations around fascinating topics that I think we need to talk about. We really need to talk about. It's going to help a lot of people. So I'm so proud of where you're at. And I'm honored to be a part of your podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored to speak to you.
And I can't wait to sing with you more. Oh my God. For me, my career or my fascination with music started when I was just a child. I was actually watching The Little Mermaid. I've named my son after the character in The Little Mermaid, Eric, Prince Eric. And I was watching Little Mermaid, and I saw how much the octopus, Ursula, wanted Ariel's voice. So from a young age, I really understood the power behind the desire of one wanting that sound and the power of the voice. I'm not just talking about singing. I'm talking the power of the voice and how it can actually impact masses. And I was listening to Ariel singing, and I felt this magic. I felt pins and needles all over my body. I got goosebumps. I was like, I want that. I want to have that magic. I want to possess that. So I've been obsessed with the magical part of life since I was a child. It drives me. It really does. And so that's why I named my son Eric after Prince Eric. And after that, I couldn't give it up.
Prince Eric? Was this a character
Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that movie as well, Sebastian. Ariel, why will you not sing for me? I would have been Sebastian if I was in The Little Mermaid.
That's fantastic. I can't believe the way you do that. Yeah. So that's where it started, and it was understanding the power behind the music and behind the sound, and it was very therapeutic for me. Siphoning through all of these complicated emotions as a child, as I always tried to take on everybody else's feelings. I was an empath. I'm still an empath, and I can definitely get a great sense of what people in the room are feeling. And that was very overwhelming for me. And I didn't know how to, differentiate the difference between what I was feeling and what the adults around me were feeling. And I took that on. I took it personally. And I felt like I needed to siphon through and fix everybody around me. And the only time I found that I was successful at doing that was when I was dancing or singing. I was being of service. So there was more evidence and proof that music does heal. Music transforms one form from another. I would see the adults change in their demeanor, change in their moods, and I would be constantly striving to achieve that, but to my own end, because it's also very good at getting, you can very easily get lost in the music and lose touch with reality and try to run away from your own emotions. And so I had to create a balance in my adult life between, succumbing to the power of the music and also succumbing to what was really going on underneath and facing it.
That's powerful. I've often heard the phrase that real art is a reflection of life. And I find that it's a weird thing. I mean, you spoke about trying to find a balance between your life and music, and my approach is to try to I find that I create the best music when I am living an authentic life. Then I start expressing that in my music, and I guess on some level we're always trying to find balance. I suppose there's always a downside when you are perhaps giving yourself too much to one particular side of yourself. And you mentioned the downside of the music. But what would be the downside? Like, what were situations that you encountered where you were getting too caught up perhaps in the music and it was having because I don't know, I don't ever see like a negative side of music. Anytime I add music to life, it's like, it's like, when you play a really cool speech and then you add music to it, it always makes it sound more powerful, more emotive. It's like when you add music to any aspect of life, to me, it just enhances it. And I'm trying to understand your perspective on, I guess, the downside of music and why you need to have balance there.
Okay, so there's two aspects to this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the industry. All right, that's one part. And what the industry wants as opposed to what is organically your gift and creative life force energy, right? The industry is one section we will revisit. The other part of it is, have you ever had a crush on somebody? I know you have. But then you would be in your room and you would play a melody or this hypnotic, powerful, enticing, beautiful piece of music whilst thinking about that person, putting that person on a pedestal and combining the emotions and power of the music with this persona of that person.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually creating in our own minds, we're imprinting on them how we want them to be. But it's not. You take the power and the magic of the music away and you're left with what you don't want. So you need to be really careful. It is. There's smoke, the power of the music is like, it's like a drug.
Well, yeah, it has some very surreptitious qualities if it's used the wrong way. It's like anything. I think about Jimi Hendrix, one of my favorite musicians, and he has this quote about how when you were playing music, when you're performing, and you play music, people get in this state of mind, and you can influence them by essentially putting them. Basically, they get in this hypnotic state, and then you can tell them things, and then that will influence them. And I'm thinking about how, even music, something as beautiful and powerful as the inspirational vibes within music, can be sometimes used in order to paint a picture that is not consistent with reality. It's like when you
how much there's been some people where I was like, and then you put music to it and I'm like, oh wow,
yeah.
But they're not. You switch the music on, they're not.
Absolutely. You think about the industry. Yeah. Like how often you see commercials that are quite nefarious. They play these clever tones, to make a mockery. I've done this. I play certain songs to make a mockery of something, like the Austin Powers theme song. You put that in the background, right? When someone's giving a speech, and regardless of how intelligent they are, they're going to sound ridiculous. Look, everyone, we all got to stay together by staying apart. And I think we all need to lock everyone in their house. Yeah. And it's like, it makes no sense, you know. However, if you put the right kind of music in the background, you know, it changes So I hear what you're saying on that sense. Music can be used in a very surreptitious way. But I truly feel
that's less the issue. The real issue is how the industry can literally kill your passion, kills the passion. And it you know, my inner child's still crying. You know, and the more eclectic you are an artist, the harder it becomes, because the industry wants to pigeonhole you. They want you to fit into a niche, because it's not about the music, it's about the market. The music fades. The craft fades. That all goes in the background. I remember doing TV shows, and I remember being told what to say. You know, this is the best thing you've ever done in your life. Sabrina, say it. Go. And I'm like, what? What? You want me to minimize, and you want me to glorify the incredible people in my life, the incredible moments I've had. And what it does is it's very damaging for our youth, because we are representing our youth, and they can very easily get swayed and start to get sucked into this fake hierarchy that's perceived on these TV shows. You know, I remember, I'm not going to say names, but I remember being on one of the TV shows, and, you know, they were like, you are better than everybody else. I'm like, whoa, I am not coherent with this. This is not working for me, because I'm not better than everybody else. I have one gift, somebody else has another gift. We're on the same level. There's nothing better about me. I'm able to share my gift. I'm able to share what I love. But that doesn't make me any better or any less than anybody else. And by doing that, you're trying to build this fake persona within me, so that if I lose the show, I feel like I've lost everything at the end of the show. And that is a lie. And I'm telling you, like, I'm really grateful for like how far, you know, the TV show allowed me to get. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it like that, because it is like that. I'm really grateful for, you know, where they wanted to place me on the timeline of that television show. But I saw a lot of young people get damaged, and a lot of people were contacting me, suicidal, really sad. There was even some other contestants on the show that were suicidal, and we even lost, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it. I can't even name names, but there was a woman that I was on a show with, and she took her own life. And it's
this is the show. This is our season of The Voice, or is this another show?
I don't know what I'm allowed and not allowed to say. But
that's fair enough. Because look, I experienced this too, Sabrina. I actually went through the same thing that you did. I saw people that were close to me suffer the mental issues and death threats. I think we both probably saw some of that. And
bullying.
I relate to so much of what you're saying. The TV show, and look, this is how TV works. I've been on enough reality TV shows to understand that they try to market you, and they try to create this competitive nature, you know, towards what you're doing. And I think real art is not about that. It's coming from a place of sincerity and cooperation, you know. And this whole combative nature, it kind of moves away from, like, I call it the hack mentality. One of my favorite books, The War of Art, not to be confused with the Art of War. This is by Stephen Pressfield. He talks about just the psychology of becoming an artist, and he delineates between two very specific approaches towards this. And one is the hack mentality, whereas it's inauthentic. You're trying to figure out what you can do in order to win, to have people like your stuff. It's very manufactured. Right. And this is what I saw in The Voice. You know, it's about how can I sell the most amount of albums. The path of the artist, at least in The War of Art, and I resonate with this, is to find your path, like express yourself authentically, to find a way, because people relate to your art when it's actually real. This is the amazing thing that You think you need to be something else to get people to like your music, but when you're actually being the greatest version of yourself, your most authentic, vulnerable self, that's when people connect to that. And that's when you're working territorially, at least this is what Stephen Pressfield calls it, where you're not thinking about what's going to happen, but you're focused purely on loving what you're doing. And I've seen you when you sing, you get caught up in the moment. I've been listening to this girl, just drop beautiful ballads, on my phone, and she's caught up in the moment. That's real art to me, as opposed to, oh, should I sing this higher? Should I sing this? Do I need to dress more sexy? And this is the dark side of the industry. This kind of all hinges back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
This is how the music gets obfuscated into something that we're not. But sorry to keep going in regards to the experience you had there, because I think it's important.
Sorry, it becomes toxic. It becomes really toxic, and you forget why you wanted to do it in the first place. I remember saying, again, I'm not going to humiliate the individual, although they will know who they are. But I remember going to say goodbye to one of the people that were that had left, and as I approached the individual, they just got really aggressive. And they were swearing, and, how they really felt came out in one go. They were extremely nice to me before that, very fake and kind, and, tried to be charming. And then when they were off, whoa, you're trying to win this. You've rigged this. It's rigged, da-da-da, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? What? Who are you? I knew you when we were kids. Like, who are you right now? I've come to give you a cuddle and say goodbye. We're all going at one stage, mate. We're all leaving. There's an end date to this experience. And whether you won or whether you lost, it's not about you as an artist. It's about, we're a part of a television show. This is what this is about. And how many, and this is the truth, there were incredibly talented people that didn't even make it to TV.
I keep telling people that.
That
so
is
true.
the truth. Like,
So true.
I'm sorry, incredibly talented people, that just didn't fit the bill of the image that year. It wasn't going to fit in with, you know what I mean, Crystal? Like
100%.
How can I get a big head? I can't. I'm way too aware. I'm way too aware of the system, and I'm way too aware of what's going on. And this is the platform of music should not be about who's better, or I'm biggest star, or I'm this, or I'm that. Let's get real here. Some of the biggest artists in the world are dead. If money, if fame, if all of your beautiful looks, all this stuff that we're striving for, if this is the key to success, then why are half these people found alone and dead, having killed themselves in a bath, overdosing? I'm sorry. I know you appreciate my singing, and I take on your compliments. I really do, because I know that you personally really enjoy my voice, and that's the best part of this. That I love. The
world enjoys your voice. Yeah,
I appreciate that, but I don't take on any of the stuff that involves being a part of a hierarchy, or being the best singer, or being the top or world class. Like, I know you say it, and I appreciate that you love my voice, but I'm just Sabrina, and I just sound like this, and I love my music.
Yeah, it's so refreshing to hear you say that.
Yeah, I just sing, like, I just sing, and if you love it, great. If you don't, I hope you find someone that does it for you, and that's it. We keep it really simple, but the industry it drained me. It drained me of my passion. It killed my passion. I didn't enjoy singing anymore, because I had to come to work every day, and I was attacked by people who felt threatened, unnecessarily threatened. Unnecessarily threatened. They didn't see their own worth. They put too much value on, where I was placed on the show, when even personally I didn't take that as a compliment. I just went, okay, they've allowed me to stay on for another week. You know, next week could be my week. You know, I'm no greater or worse. I just am. And that's it. But I didn't enjoy coming to work anymore. It was like bullying, and I was sexualized a lot. I had other contestants who were in relationships saying that they wanted to pin me up against a wall and do sexual things to me. I was just like, man, even if you don't respect me, what about the woman you're with? Like, what's going on? It's just, that's not my world.
Sure.
It's not my world.
It seems the TV series, and this is just the entertainment industry in general, it does have this tendency to sexualize, to do whatever is necessary in order to get viewers, right? And I guess this is the aspect that, well, as someone of substance, you just don't like. Because you strike me, I mean, I find it amazing you've managed to maintain your humility and your groundedness in all of this. And I find people that tend to get into this acting world, or whether it's music or what the entertainment industry, it tends to draw people that tend to have this mentality of, I want attention. You know, it's like, I've heard the same thing said about comedians. They get into this world because they have this void, and they need to have some person appreciate them. They need to have that void filled by masses or by people telling them that they're great. And I think the reason why we see so much competitiveness, so much ego in this industry is that people, they feel bruised when because of the place that they're operating from. You're someone that's operating from a place of, look, this is not a competition. I don't need to have thousands of people validate me in order for me to acknowledge myself. You know, but for the people that get on this show, because they need to fill that void, they get bruised when someone rejects them, when they don't make it to the next level, and so forth. And I've seen this. I experienced this on a level as well. You know, I think every artist, you know, we're constantly I'm fighting this battle of wanting to express myself authentically, but also wanting to succeed, I guess, fit into this niche so that I can actually do what I love doing. And that often requires you to sacrifice a part of yourself, and makes you get frustrated when people don't appreciate you, and you know, you could start comparing yourself. Have you seen the same kind of thing? Or have you know what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I want to be really transparent, and I don't want to give off a false persona, and I want to say that I think it's really natural and it's really human to want to have attention. And I always say, yes, I love attention. You know, I think that, you know, after what I've been through, you know, in the last couple of years of my life, attention has not been the priority, because I've needed to really take some time out to heal. However, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't like attention. I don't think that would be true. I think that especially when you're young and you want love, and we all want to be loved. And I think that when we go down to the real basis of why we want to be heard, is because there is a thirst for attention. But then it comes to a point in your life where you have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to ask yourself, is this the kind of attention that I want, and what is it costing me? Is this in alignment with what I really want? I want to be loved for me, but they're trying to make me something I'm not. So even if the masses accept the persona I'm stepping into, Sabrina's still starving because they're not seeing me, you know? And the other part of it is that if you put way too much emphasis on the adoration of people, then you equally need to take in the negative. And I don't think that's healthy. You can't live your life based on what a number of people like about you or don't like about you. And it becomes about humility, and it becomes about getting grounded and getting centered. So if I was to get back into my music, I would really practice mindfulness and always have my son, you know, in my mind around how it's going to affect him. You know, I have a little boy. He's my life. He's the love of my life. He's my heartbeat. Everything I do includes his welfare and his well-being and how it's going to affect him. So it comes down to your values. And I was talking about this with you the other day. You know, even in relationships, you may have arguments with your partner, but fundamentally people stay together based on their values. There might be a whole bunch of things you guys don't like, but if you have set values together, even toxic relationships can withstand the test of time because their values match. I'm not saying their values have to be appropriate. I'm just saying that their values have to match.
Yeah, let's get into that a little. You know, let's talk about the relationships, the sex, the craziness. You know, that we get caught up in these passionate interactions with people. Because I always try to separate these things. You know, like I find that when I'm looking at things from a romantic perspective, like this is where I'm operating in a place of like a puppy dog love, that kind of thing. And I think for a lot of people, that don't evolve past that standpoint, you know, they're quite happy being in relationships where they are not on the same page when it comes to values and things like that. I think we're in a time at the moment where a lot of relationships are getting to the testing point because people are spending so much time in these lockdowns. Just last year, I saw a couple that moved in, you know, just next to me, my apartment. And they were only there for about 4 or 5 months, and then I found out that they'd broken up. And you know, as the girl was actually leaving, you know, she was telling me about everything. And the thing is, I asked, but you guys have just moved in, like, and she mentioned, you know, that it may have something to do with. Well, actually, I thought it had something to do with the fact they'd been spending so much time together in these closed spaces and not being able to leave. And I think a lot of people don't have that conversation in regards to what their values are when they get in the relationship because they're so caught up under, oh, you're beautiful, you're sweet, all I want to do is I want to be with you. It's a common thing I hear from guys, and I think girls have this attitude that, you know, I'll do anything for, I don't care, I'll sacrifice whatever I want, you know, as long as I can be with this person. But is that congruent with who you are? And I just perhaps if you could tell me a bit more about your thoughts on that when it comes to your values. Have you been in situations where that has conflicted with someone that you really loved and you couldn't be with them? And how have you dealt with that?
That I couldn't be with them.
You couldn't be with them because of or you wouldn't even let it get to that point. Is that perhaps your thing? But if you know what I'm saying? Like, have you been in a situation where your values weren't compatible with someone that you very much were
100%, and I can't go in detail. I can't go in detail around it, but, you know, 100%. We get to a point. And I think, and this is what I'm saying, this is why it always comes back to domestic violence. And it doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be sexual abuse or physical abuse. It can just be emotional abuse coming from your childhood where you lose a sense of self, where a trauma has happened. And as a child, you've been, you know, punished for a part of who you are, and you put that part away and you don't listen to that part and you ignore that part, just like an abuser would, and you end up running through your life trying to ignore these parts of yourself. We are our first abusers, because if we're told, for example, you know, a counselor said to me, Sabrina, if you want to stop domestic violence, stop the violence against the self. When someone says something really nasty about you and tries to put you down, berate you, break you, the second you resonate with that and make it mean that, you are contributing to the domestic violence against the self. Back yourself. Give it back. Hand it back. That's their stuff. Let it be with the source. You need to be there for you. No one else is going to be. Know your worth. So once you start to lose your sense of self and your self-worth, then boundaries fall to the wayside. When there are no boundaries, then there's no integrity. When there's no integrity, free for all. One's, they start abusing you, you start retaliating, then you can't even map out where it went wrong. It's just all kinds of wrong. You got to you got to chuck a spanner in the works, and you got to stop the clogs from turning. Somebody's got to do it. That's where courage comes in. That's where self-love comes in. And I didn't find that until I had my son. My son is turning me into the woman that I am today.
Why do you think that is?
He's the one raising me.
How is it? Do you feel a need in order to protect him, therefore, or to perhaps be the best version of yourself? That's why you start acting in more alignment with your values and so forth. I see.
Yeah. How can I tell my son, don't accept someone beating you up or raping you or abusing you? How can I say this to him if I'm allowing it? Or if he sees it happening to me? How can I raise him and say, have some self-respect? It starts with me.
I was just about to say that word.
Love is not abuse. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Yeah. Oh, little respect.
Oh, damn.
Now,
that's definitely good. I'm going to make a clip out of that.
You know what I'm trying to say? I had to embody what I want to set, the example I want to set for my child. He's my world. I never want him coming up to me. And this is, and this is a discussion that, I've had to say with my parents as well, like certain things that were said. Mm-hmm. When they're upset, they don't realize certain things that they've said, how it can impact you as a child and make you lose your sense of self or your self-worth. And it's like, but wait a second. If you talk to me that way or make me feel this way as a child where I don't have the resources and I don't have the support to counteract that negative thinking of the self, then when I grow up and someone else hurts me or says something about me that makes me feel like I deserve it, it mirrors.
Your sound is oh, there we go. It's back on again.
Sorry, I just got a
call. Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, you're making a beautiful point there. And I relate to that so much, particularly in light of what's going on right now. I feel like a lot of people are allowing themselves to be disrespected, whether it's through their friends or family or perhaps the government, all right, which is another whole thing. But a lot of the times, but hear me out. I think a lot of the times it's because people don't want conflict. They're trying to avoid this conflict at any opportunity because they already have so much going on in their life. But I find that by avoiding this conflict all the time, you actually create conflict in yourself. One, you lose respect for yourself, and then this allows the abuse to be perpetuated. And what you're saying is so powerful because it really does come down to self, and it's also so connected to the romantic attitude, because the typical romantic attitude, at least within my mind, I think this is a common theme within the West. I think people have this idea of the guy, or look, I'm a feminist, or the girl, all right, doing everything for this girl. Like, I'll do anything for you. I'll go out and I'll slay a dragon for you. I will do anything I can because I love you. I care about you, But then the other dynamic there is that if you are doing that for someone that is not reciprocating that, or worse yet, is actually not holding you with respect, you end up losing your sense of value for yourself. But because you've given up to this idea that you love and you care so much for this person, you're willing to suffer the slings and arrows. Bob Marley has this beautiful quote that, everyone is going to hurt you. You just have to find those that you're willing to suffer for. Because an aspect of romantic love is that you are suffering. Yeah. You're losing part of yourself, but because you open yourself to this other person, you're willing to suffer the pain, the trauma, at sometimes to your detriment. But the problem with that is that it can be unbalanced, and you can find you lose yourself which leads to,
Yeah.
because more often than not, correct me if I'm wrong, with these situations of domestic violence, right? It's usually a
Yeah.
situation where the person that's been abused loves the person, the abused to death, and can't see them wanting to abuse them, that everything they must be doing must be done because they really care about them. And therefore, they tolerate this abuse. And somewhere down the line, they lose themselves. And when all their friends around them are saying, "What are you doing? This person is
Yeah.
locking you in your home. This person is not allowing you to leave the country, is telling you that you got to get." Anyway, let's relate this to the situation. But you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, right?
But it all comes down to self-worth.
Self-worth.
It's all
Absolutely.
about self-worth, because at the time, at the time you're going through it,
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence doesn't happen in a day. It develops over time, right? It becomes a systematic, cyclic way of living, whereby you're getting to know that person. They start to understand your vulnerabilities. You understand their vulnerabilities. Your vulnerabilities have started to be played on. Insecurities are playing up. Then bang, they hit you. And that's the moment we're meant to leave, right? When the boundary has been crossed. However, if you're not financially able to leave, you have your own anxieties, you don't have a good support network, you don't have sense of self or self-worth, or you validate the hit, and all you want to do is get back to a state of comfort as soon as possible, the abuser tends to very quickly become your rescuer right after they hurt you. And this happened time and time again, sometimes within minutes. Bang, hit, and then, "Oh, I'm here. Are you okay? It's okay. I'm calm now. Are you okay?" And you're like, what? You just, "I'm so mad right now." And they're looking at me like I shouldn't be mad. But I'm a piece of crap anyway. This is where the domestic violence starts. It starts in the belief system that you somehow deserve the treatment. This is where I believe there needs to be, courses or classes early in people's childhoods to learn about what domestic violence is. Or even when you're starting a family, it needs to be stricter rules on who's allowed to start a family. I'm serious. We've got these passports for the vaccine. We need passports for child parenting.
I think
What
that
are we doing?
the issue, though, is a collective problem, in the sense that so much of what we're seeing around us, not just what's going on in these classrooms, but you have a look at social media, the fact that it's influencing people to not value themselves because of the way that they see women being portrayed and so forth. And you see,
Yeah.
I mean, this happens in so many different areas of life, where the society is reinforcing this idea that perhaps we are not as valued as we are. The way that advertising works, they're trying to sell you a product. Perhaps you're too fat. You need more. And it's all done in a very kind of surreptitious manner. And you see all of this stuff coming together, and it gets people to question themselves, and it facilitates this lack of self-respect, And I think it starts in the family. Like I think one of the problems I see with the current system is that we're so willing to defer the education of our children to these schools, and some of the things that are actually been brought about in these schools may not be the best education for your child. It's like we've left so much of our education to the government, when typically speaking, I mean, there was a time when this stuff would obviously be done by the parents. Obviously, parents aren't necessarily the best, most equipped to bring up their children, but I think the problem I see is that there is so much programming that is taking place, not just in the schools, but on social media, that it's all facilitating this lack of self-worth and self-respect, which leads to the problems that we see. If people were brought up in a culture where they, like, for instance, to me, I think it's really important to go through some kind of, you find in most indigenous cultures, they have some kind of initiation rites where you actually become a man by going through trials, discipline. You learn what it is to actually be a courageous person. And because we don't go through a lot of these initiations, these challenges in the current system, I feel like the young children, the young men, they don't know what it means to actually be tested. And part of to actually thriving in life is to actually go through adversity rather than facing it. Like I find so many people are so caught up worrying about things that 100 years ago people wouldn't have the time for because they were dealing with life and death, the most difficult. Like back 50 years ago, people would go to war, and that's obviously a bad thing, right? Like I don't condone that, but the level of courage that these people had cultivated this sense of strength within them because of the challenges that you wouldn't see them worrying about things like, oh, someone doesn't appreciate my selfie or something like that. Like I feel like our society has brought about people that don't really have this strong sense of self cultivated.
But then they had their own challenges. You know, they had their own challenges. So, you know, every culture and every time had their own issues. And we could then go into, you know, how much worse it was for women back then, and how, you know, religion and its oppression on people. I mean, we're only just starting to wake up in that area now. Just now. You know, it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. I was having a discussion the other day. A lady called me up. I think I was selling something on Gumtree, which I'll never do it again. That's another story. But she got my number just to preach the word of God.
Okay.
And without respecting what my orientation was, how I felt about it, she just started Bible bashing me. You know, and she was talking about it like it was matter of fact. So blind to the fact that this is what she feels is reality. And I said, listen, this is fine that you believe in this, but to communicate it as fact to another who does not take on that belief is where you're crossing the line.
That's a very relevant situation to what is going on at the moment, because in terms of, because the biggest issue I'm finding is that there is this battle taking place. There's an information war, and on one side,
I can feel you, Crystal. You're bringing it back.
No. This is actually relevant because on one side, like what you're saying in terms of like respecting people's boundaries, you know, like I'm all for that. When it comes to conversation, it's tricky because there is this religious mentality where you feel so strongly about something and you want to be heard, and then some people just don't want to hear it, you know, and you see the problem stemming from the fact that they don't want to hear it. They don't want to know what is going on. But that being said, you still want to respect their boundaries to not have to hear this kind of stuff. But my approach to this is one, because I've been on both different sides of this. I don't attend every argument I'm invited to. If I don't want to talk about something, I'll take a step back, you know. And I think it also becomes just rude if someone is saying, "Look, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this," and you continue pushing. The tricky thing is that it's created this society where there is this disconnect now because people don't want to have a conversation. Like you can always push something too far, but I think in order for growth, I mean, this is how the Western society is supposed to work. We have this concept of freedom of speech because it's the marketplace for ideas. And without this, essentially, it leads to a lot of problems. I mean, the reason why we respect people's opinions and we try to have conversation is because the alternative to that is war. I mean, this is what would happen so many years ago. Essentially, we'd have people try to force their views on you, and there wasn't any discussion. We'd have book burning, and then we realized somewhere down the line that we have to have conversation. If you have a difference of opinion, I have to allow you to express that, because unless we do, we won't move forward. We won't have an efflorescence of consciousness, you know? And the only other alternative is to fight. But that being said, the issue here in regards to the context of what you're saying is respecting people's boundaries, which is what it always comes down to, right?
100%. 100%. I had a close friend of mine he didn't mean it. He didn't want to hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, oh, this was ages ago when we were talking about the vaccine at the beginning, and he's like, oh, do it for your son. Look at that. Look at that, right? Like, or do this for your son, or don't do this for your son. How they use that gaslighting and that without even realizing it, it's subconscious. It's so ingrained. And I had to pull him up on it. And I said, listen, the vaccinated believe they have the facts.
Just to interrupt you there, can we use the word juice or juicinated? I call it boom shakalaka. Just for YouTube, and Insta. Otherwise, we're gonna get flagged because this is gonna go up on social media.
Juicinated believe they've got facts and
juiced. But I hear what you're saying. Let's
vaccinated are saying that you're gonna damage yourself and you're gonna damage your child. I said, either way, I am just a single parent here who loves nothing more than her child. And I have to sit here and get emotionally abused, questioning my level of love for my son to either side, being beaten up either way, verbally, either way, whichever way I go. One's going to say, I don't care about my son if I take it or don't take it. This is what's wrong with the world. Not the pandemic, not the actual virus, not the actual juice. What's wrong is us and our communicative or lack thereof skills. That is what's wrong. It's the madness seeping out, the gaslighting, and how we do it. I mean, I feel like a professional when I detect gaslighting now. I've been with so many people who've done it to me most of my life that now I've just zeroed in on it, and it's like, I don't tolerate a bar of it, and it's made my life a lot simpler. Where I'm like, wow, this is your stuff. Don't even try to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You want to step over that line, you're out the door. I don't have tolerance for it anymore. I lovingly don't have tolerance, and I say lovingly. Because if I'm to entertain people who feel that they need to gaslight you, we're going to end up in a real bad place down the track. So I'm just cutting out all that mess.
Yeah, I really like
it's
that.
Inevitable. It's inevitable.
A close friend of mine dropped some wisdomatic truth bombs. That's what I like to call it. Just this year, and we were talking about tolerance, and they made me realize that we say tolerance in a positive light, right? But why would you tolerate something that is not in alignment with your values? You've got to be more tolerant. Well, if someone was abusing you, if someone was stepping on your sovereignty, would you tolerate that? That's what leads to domestic violence, right? So yeah, she kind of shifted my perspective. Shout out to Risa Boom Boom, if you're listening to this, by the way. Yeah, she was saying that ultimately tolerance is not something you want to have. Sure, compassion, but are you going to tolerate someone that is intolerant of, well, are you going to tolerate something that is not in line with your values, And
that's right. That's right. And boundaries are fantastic.
Absolutely.
Boundaries are fantastic. They're fantastic for you and me. Because if I set a boundary, I'm also going to set that boundary on you. And I'm not going to overstep your boundaries. Respecting the self teaches you how to respect others. And this is what I'm teaching my son now. It's not about me controlling my child. My child is not born to be controlled by me and do what I like it to do what I say. Ooh. My love does not amount to that. That is not love. Love doesn't even exist in situations like that.
Love is not control.
Love is not control.
It's not.
It's not.
You do that out of fear. That's right. Something that I've been dwelling on lately as well. I mean, you think about, because this is where I come from, because I often try to delineate between like real love to me, which is like, I have different words to reflect these different kinds of love. And when I'm talking about the kind of love where you feel like you don't need to control anyone, you just want them to be happy, you want them to thrive, and them thriving is you thriving. The kind of love that you feel for, let's say, your child. When you spoke about your kid, like I saw the way that you lit up, and that's this. It's like, I don't care, you can do whatever. I want the best for you, But you
Yeah.
often see when people speak about someone they love and they use the word love, it's I don't want you leaving your home. Oh, I can't stand the thought of you not being with me, so I'm gonna control this, control that. But I
Yeah.
love you. But I love you. Oh, I smacked the shit out of you. I'm sorry. I loved
Yeah.
you. I've even heard
I
stories of
loved you when
women.
I did that.
And
I
it
was
goes both
loving
ways.
you when
Yeah.
I.
I heard a story of a guy of a woman that chopped off this guy's dick, because he cheated on her. I'm like, what? That's fucked up in many ways. I mean, okay, don't cheat on someone if you love him, but don't chop.
Whoa.
Like, you're
Whoa.
using the word love, and I often
Yeah.
reference this guy called Osho that talks about the distinction between rising in
I
love
love Osho.
versus
Yes.
falling in love. Absolutely. And when you were
Yeah.
rising in love, you don't feel you're not losing yourself. When you're falling in love, you're in a place of vulnerability, which is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's also
Yeah.
this place of insecurity because you're so attached to that outcome, right? But when you're rising in love, you both come together in the wholeness of who you are with this sense of agape, which is the word that I wanted to use. It's universal love. It's like, I only want the best for you. And it's very hard for people to say that, to truly say that. That's why I'm hard on myself. Like when I say I love someone, if it's any kind of possession, like I feel weird when I think about losing them, it's an attachment. And that can be a beautiful thing, but it is very different. And that's the problem that we're seeing at the moment. People claim to love you, but is that love, or is that just you needing to gain some kind of something back, some kind of a gratification from them?
Or safety, feeling safe. Because a lot of us don't feel safe if we're not in control.
Yeah. So what are you looking for, Sabrina, in terms of like when it comes to life, when it comes to like what's your greatest pursuit? Because obviously you love music, but more than that,
Yeah, I do love music, and I do want to. Yeah, I do want to step back into that. I do want to step back into my music, but I want to step back into it from a different place than I did before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that after everything I went through, I want to rewrite my own developmental trauma, and I want to heal from that, and I want to give my son. I want to work on myself, which I am, so that I can give my son the freedom that I'm still trying to obtain. There's a lot of freedoms I don't have due to my anxiety, due to the traumas, due to everything that I've endured. And I'm going through a healing process, and it's taking a long time, because my trauma wasn't just one. It was one after the other. I've probably only had a rest from it in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. That's not a lot of time. I mean, it was my birthday Tuesday that passed. I'm 37 now. And 2 years out of my lifetime, that's nothing. So I'm trying to do all the repairs as soon as I can, because I would hate to think that my traumas are going to be anything that my son has to recover from any of the behaviors that I might have. I'm a very conscious parent. And I easily
Sabrina, I'm just going to stop you just for 1 second right now. I'm just going to end this live on Instagram, because after 1 hour, apparently the whole thing kind of goes to pear shape. So we're just going to wind this thing. But let me just save this thing so I don't lose it. Share video, and then we can get straight into this. Just one moment. All right. Okay. Fix this up in a sec. All right, so that's good. All right, let's continue with this. I'm gonna go live in 1 second. Actually, oh, good to go. So you were saying, sorry to cut you off there to ruin the flow, but
freedom. I think I need to find what I'm searching for is that true freedom. Jay Shetty once said that spirituality is not the journey without, but the journey within. And to be able to go within and to shed the resistance, because there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of parts of me that are afraid are afraid of healing, because what does that then mean? What does that then look like? What does it look like when you're healed? Who am I when I'm healed? Who am I without the trauma? So, and I say that, and I'm honest about that, because I feel that there's a lot of people out there that's probably going through the same thing, and they need to hear the confirmation that, yes, there's a lot of us going through that. You'll get to a point where you want to heal, and you say you want to heal on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, there's a lot of resistance. So it's about being brave enough and honest enough to face your stuff and to say, okay, I'm struggling with wanting to remove this because I believe that it's going to mean A, B, and Z, you know? So I'm really working very, very hard. And there's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of mothers out there that resonate with this constant mother's guilt, you know? And I don't want to say just mothers, you know, there's fantastic fathers out there, you know, parents, you know, parents' guilt, that you always feel like you're not doing something right, you know? And there might be times where I don't behave the way I want to behave, or I don't answer my son in the perfect way that I thought I should have. But what I do then do is I go back to him and I create a repair. So trauma is not always the event. Trauma is how that experience or the event is digested in the system, and what we make it mean. So I'm just going to say a hypothetical. So you're a child and your parent whacks you across the head and says, go to your room, right? And it wasn't, and I'm not minimizing the act. I will never minimize the act. But it's the fact that in that moment, it wasn't acknowledged that the child was hit and abused and hurt. There's no acknowledgement around how that affected the child. The child then takes on this belief system that, oh, something's defective about me. I made my parent hit me. There's something so wrong with me that drove my parent to lash out at me. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I deserve to be alone. And then that isolation and dealing with it, having no big, wise or kind adult supporting that child to siphon through the experience. So the child with no education, with no support, will make it mean something. And then they will carry that experience. And in their adult life, their partner will hit them and they'll be like, yeah, my parents love me. And, you know, I piss people off. I tend to make people angry, when that is not true at all. We're all responsible for our behavior. The person that laid a hand on you didn't know how to self-regulate, didn't know how to control their behavior. It has nothing to do with you. Even if I raise my voice to my son, I will then go back and I will, you know, my son once, oh, so gorgeous. He was dropping all this pink sand all over the floor. Mm-hmm. And because it's COVID and it's locked down and I can't go and just get more, it was going everywhere. And I know how much he loves the sand. And I'm like, please, Eric, you can't drop the sand. And by the 5th or 6th time, I had said it not so gently. And he said, Mom, he's so confident expressing himself. He said, Mom, that was too loud and it hurt my ears. Okay. And I'm like, oh, I apologize. I'm sorry that I was so loud. I'm sorry that affected you. I said, I'm going to work on my grumpiness. And do you think that you can work on your listening skills a bit better? And he goes, no, you're not working on your grumpiness. You need to work on your happiness.
Wow.
And I was like, my little guru. Like,
I know.
Totally
those kind of moments just blow my mind when you see the kind of wisdom coming from children like that, you know, because I truly believe they're in touch with their inner God, like their super consciousness. And as a result, you sometimes see the most beautiful musings transpire from these little beautiful beings, you know. But I got to say, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think being a parent in these times, just any time for that matter, is such an incredible challenge. And I've only just reached the point where I've started I lost my father last year, and I just started realizing, you know, because there are always things that you get frustrated about that your parents did, but I started realizing what it would have been like him being a father, because I reached a point where, you know, I was thinking, this is imagine the problems that I'm having right now. You know, I'm always working on myself, but trying to deal with not only your problems, but the problems of your child. And I started real like
Yeah.
you know, I'm at the age where I think my father would have had us, and I just started realizing how difficult, because you always look at your parents as being, oh, they're grown-ups, they're adults, they're super sophisticated, you
Yeah.
know. But then you
Yeah.
realize that in the same, I mean, I am in the same way that I look at myself now and realize, God, it would be so difficult, you know, because I love dogs, I love children, you know, and I'm so apprehensive about not being able to, you know, just stuffing up, you know what I mean? And I just start,
Yes.
and sometimes I am actually very harsh on, it sounds so weird saying this, but grown-ups, on adults and the way they treat their children, you know? Because you know, I've had issues with my parents, and I start realizing that they're just like human beings. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they make the same mistakes in the same way that you stumble, you're dealing with issues, and there are so many people that are dealing with issues right now, and amidst the you know the different sides that are telling you one thing, telling you another thing, and you trying to make a decision that is best for your child, and then trying to navigate your own destiny, it is an incredibly daunting situation. And I think it's such a beautiful but incredibly challenging position to be in, to be a mother or a father. You're saying, I
Yeah.
mean, this little kid essentially has no one, at least for the first few years, to confide in. You were their everything, and there's such a huge responsibility, and it has the
Yeah.
potential to have such an far-reaching impact. Unlike that's all I'm saying is, because of that, I have tried to become more understanding of people that stuff up, you know, when it comes to not just with raising children, but people are dealing with a lot right now, particularly, and we often lose
Yeah.
sight of that. We just, what you're saying is absolutely right. When someone does something that's wrong, you know, they abuse you and so forth, they're 100% responsible for their actions. But if you have this perspective where you understand that every person that is getting angry, they're dealing with their own battles right now, just like you are, and everyone is. Whereas some people don't say it, aren't open about this, everyone right now is going through their own battles. That's why it's
Yeah.
really important to just take a extra bit of time and try to say, you know what, I'll just let him have it. I'm not gonna argue with you. Fair enough, you can have this one. And yeah, it's just about having a bit of perspective.
Yeah. It's definitely. And it's, I mean, I have my good parenting days, and I have those days where I'm really down on myself, and I feel really guilty, and I feel like I didn't get that right. But I think what's really important is remaining conscious and taking responsibility and owning where you're going wrong, and endeavoring to not do that again, or to go and reach out. So if I feel like I don't have something right, I have no issues with putting my hand up and calling somebody. It might be an organization, it might be a mother and child service. Reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling, you know. And as long as your intentions is that you're endeavoring to be the best version of you, you're going to get it wrong. I get it wrong. Believe me, I get it wrong. But the intentions are to work toward getting it right. And that's also going to change with your child and your child's needs. My son's struggling right now. He really is struggling right now with the, you
Lockdowns,
know,
everything.
are
Yeah.
we allowed to say that? Yeah.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
lockdowns. And, you
Yeah.
know, I used to take him out every week, and we used to have play date time, and, you know, he doesn't get any of that. You know, even something so simple as just having, you know, my beautiful sister just move in recently. Some small transitional change like that, the child plays up because it's different. It's out of their ordinary life, you know, what they knew to be the routine. They can play up like that. And so it's going to take him a week or so to start settling down. And he's totally playing up. And that totally triggers you as a parent, especially if they're starting to lash out and hit you and things like that they don't normally do. And any form of violence is quite triggering for me after what I've been through.
Sure.
And so, and some people, you know, everyone has their views on what discipline is. You know, my parents say, oh, he has no fear. He doesn't fear you. Yeah, because back in the day, that's the goal. The goal is make your child fear you to make him listen. That doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Didn't work with me.
And it creates a whole set of other dramas. So it may look like my child is walking all over me right now to a lot of people. And that's fine, because I'm giving him a space. He needs to feel like he has a safe space to experience his emotions. And I definitely set those boundaries in place. You're not to hit mummy. We don't put our hand on people. We don't do that. And I don't put my hand on you, and because I don't smack him and I don't hit him, they're like, oh, what are you doing? You've got the older generation. You've got your aunties and uncles like, what do you mean? Like, we used to build with sticks. What are you doing? It's like, no, that doesn't work, dude. It doesn't work.
That's powerful.
You can't say to the child, don't hit me, but I'm going to hit you. Well, then why can you hit me? That doesn't, what? Especially if your child's smart. Your parenting, you really challenge when your kid's smart. This kid's, whoa, like mind-bogglingly intelligent. Yeah. His emotional intelligence is through the roof. He's phenomenal.
Particularly with that line, you got to work on your happiness.
Oh, yeah, you got to work on your happiness, woman.
Yeah.
Like even when I said, because we've got a snake, we have a pet snake. And even when I said to him, we've got to be extra quiet, Eric. We have to be extra quiet because the snake doesn't like noise. And I would tell him that 20 minutes before. And so when, after whatever's happening, and if I've raised my voice, I go, Mom, or whatever, he'd be like, Mom, didn't you say that the snake doesn't like noise? I'm like,
calling you out.
What the actual? Like, this kid's phenomenal. And I can't help but, and I praise him. I praise him for that. Whereas our generation and our time, hey, you got a smart mouth. Keep yourself in check. Don't tell me. Don't you tell me. You're the child. Talk back. You be quiet. Don't you talk back to me.
Do not talk back to me.
Oh, God, I love it when you do that.
But I got to ask you, Sabrina, for someone that is as passionate as you are, and obviously you still have this drive to do your music, how do you manage the balance between being for your child, being a mother in this day and age, and pursuing your passion? What are some of the challenges that you've had with that? And is it, I mean, you mentioned just a moment ago that it's really, well, it's obviously helped you having a child in terms of like wanting to be the best version of yourself, but do you still, is that something that is, because I always think like, I don't want to have kids because I have so like right now, because I want to focus on my music. How do I do that if I'm trying to take care of this other being? How does that affect your career and that whole side of things, if it has?
I don't think I'm the right person to ask because I haven't successfully done it. I'm not working on my career. But
it's the journey. It's the fact that, it is the journey. Yeah, has it been something you focused on at all lately? Well, obviously not lately, but
I suppose, doing podcasts with you and doing our little singing things. And I've got other people that I also, are trying to collaborate with on a small scale, and just keeping the passion alive. And even when I talk to you over the phone and we sing to each other and I bathe in that magic, that's the extent of what I can achieve right now without it affecting the development of my child. Because the music was like having my own child, having my own baby. Music takes a lot of your energy, your time, you're consumed with it. And I don't have that kind of time. I when you have a child, especially a 3.5-year-old who is so brilliantly energized like Eric is, he requires a lot of me, and he's a single boy, so he doesn't have another sibling to play with. That's why he goes to daycare. I send him to daycare because I want him to be able to mingle with other children and to discover who he is amongst his peers. However, when he is with me, most days that he is with me right now, there isn't the time, to have that quiet space and to even be able to rehearse. He gets very affected if I'm singing because I'm not focused on him. So right now, before he properly goes to school, 5 days a week, I am not pursuing my career. I have put that on hold. I'm not really devoting my time to it, but I get the golden nuggets. like even just doing duets with you and enjoying that and letting that expand when I have the time to do so, and finding people like you who respect my position as a parent, who understand that I'm limited on time, and who's so flexible and compassionate with me. Only in situations like that will I see where it goes and devote the time that I do have. But I'm not on a grand scale. I would not go on a TV show right now, not with a child, not with a child that needs me. And I am a single parent, so I don't have a partner that I can say, sweetheart, can you please mind Eric right now, you know? So I can't say that I've successfully balanced that. I haven't.
Well, I'm a firm believer in the idea.
Eric.
Well, I think you have to do what you have to do before you can do what you want to do. And obviously right now, obviously your child is at that age where he needs a lot of attention. But I truly feel like you're at your best when you are living your greatest version of yourself, not just by doing what you love doing. Like there are many aspects of being a human being. There's your mission, which might be raising a little kid, but then there is your passion. There is your that which you can be paid for, that versus that which you love doing. Like I think of this word called ikigai, and it represents all of these different pursuits that we have, like our mission, our purpose, and we're trying to experience all of these things. And when you are living in alignment with all of these things, you're also acting as a source of inspiration to your child. And I think you actually owe it to your child to be the best version of yourself. And Sabrina, like, you know, I will say this, and I will say this time and time again, if you did not like show the world your beautiful voice, I think that would be a crime. I think there is so much that you can bring forth in particularly these times, you know, because music to me is one of these things that has the ability to it can be used surreptitiously by the mainstream media, but it is used to inspire. You know, I think one of the greatest things you can do is inspire people, and music is such a powerful platform to do that. And when you can, this is why it unites. You know, people, they'll get annoyed at you if you're saying, you know, something, but typically people can come together and be inspired by a beautiful song, regardless of how they feel about what's going on. And when you can use that, that is a powerful tool in changing the world, and not just uplifting yourself, but uplifting those around you. So I think at some point, girl, you got to get back and start busting out those tunes, you know, because the world, ladies and gentlemen, go check out this songbird. Check her out, Sabrina Batshon from The Voice season 3, and you will see her dropping some beautiful melodies, some amazing vocals. I don't often say this, but you are a world-class singer, Sabrina, and I truly believe that you have a responsibility to express yourself as passionately and enthusiastically as you possibly can with this life that you have. And that means doing what you have been bestowed, you know, by God, which is obviously your talent as a singer. So obviously we all have our.
I hear you, but we need to be really careful. And I'm gonna say a couple of things, and I don't want you to feel attacked.
Not at all. Not at all.
I want to use this as a perfect example. So in your flattery, you have you're saying that, you know, my son will benefit from me singing. It almost makes it sound like he's not benefiting from the current choices that I'm making in his development right now.
Sure. I didn't mean that, by the way, at all. You know,
I know you didn't mean it. I know you didn't mean it. But this is how
you're doing what you love doing. That's what I meant. Like people are inspired by that.
But right now, I have my son that between, you know, 0 and 6 years old, the most formative years of his life. This is exactly what I want to be doing right now. I've been singing my whole life, and nothing has been more nourishing. Nothing has been more rewarding than looking after my child for the last, you know, for when I can. I mean, once he goes to school, I lose the privilege of spending every day with him. And those years are going to fly. They're going to fly, Krishul. I'm going to miss it. If I'm not looking properly, I'm going to miss it. And then he's a man, right? And he's not going to laugh at my jokes. He's not going to need my cuddles like he needs them now, right? And singing will be there. And I still sing around the house. So, you know, the world, my values is my son. My values is the man he's going to grow up to be. And I'm honoring him and respecting him from now, because the way I am with him now, the time I spend with him now, is who he's going to be. And music is always going to be there. If it's meant for me, it's always going to be there. And I am going to work on that when I have the time, and it isn't going to take away from Eric.
Absolutely.
I don't, so I really need you to hear me on that. And I'm not going to and I totally love your compliments and I appreciate them, but I can't allow the compliments to overshadow my choices and decision making around my parenting.
Touche.
You get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to show
100%.
you up.
No.
I'm not trying to show you up, but it is so important that we stay present. And it's simple conversations like this where, you know, the mother is made to feel like she's not doing enough if she's not pursuing her career. Look how easily I can be made to feel like I'm getting it wrong.
Sure. Well, let me clarify what I was trying to say in that I made the point that you should do what you have to do before you do what you want to do. Then what I meant by that is obviously your main focus. Yeah, that's what I mean. But I would imagine at some point, perhaps when your child is more, and it all comes down to what your focus is, your passion is. But I would, in my mind, I'm thinking at some point where you do have time, because you mentioned when you have the time, you do focus on other things when you have that kind of stuff. And obviously, the situation right now is such that your main focus has to be your child. If that is your main focus forever, and that's your passion, then so be it. And that's where your passion lies, you know. But it's essentially following your bliss. This is what it comes down to. If there is something that you should do, and you're not sure, it's to follow your passion. If that passion is your baby boy, then so be it. If it is your music, but I don't believe that you have to. And it doesn't make sense logically, but you don't always have to compromise. Like, it is possible. If we're endowed with this imagination, we have the ability to find options, even when people tell us that it's not possible. There's no reason why you can't do both, you know, given the right time, circumstances. So I was just trying to say, yeah,
I'm doing it with you. Like the song that we're gonna do, like when I can.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. Like, and I am doing what I can find the time to do.
Sure.
And I'm so excited. I don't need to be doing massive concerts to feel the excitement and the satisfaction that I get. I get that. When we're on the phone, we're just over the phone and we're just singing to each other, because it brings me back to why I started in the first place. It's magic for me. It rocks my world. When you and I are singing and we're just over the phone, it doesn't have to be 1,000 million, whatever people, billion people. You know, it just starts with us. And then whoever it reaches.
That's what I love about you, Sabrina. You're so grounded in what I call like just being caught up in the muse, you know? Like I mentioned the hack mentality, where you're thinking about how many people are going to view your stuff and needing to be something. You're so caught up just living in the moment, that point where you just enjoy what you're doing. And I had that moment myself when I was on The Voice, and, you know, I was like, there was a whole point where I was thinking about what was going to happen. But when I was just doing what I love doing in that moment, I wasn't thinking about, like, I didn't even realize, you know, when will.i.am like hit the buzzer for me, he'd hit that, you know, and then I realized, oh my God, I was just so caught up doing something I love doing, then having the audience. And it's just, that's performance. It's not required. People are not required to appreciate you. You're not required to have me validate you on what you should do. My expectations are immaterial to you when it comes to you fulfilling your needs. So that's why I'm so glad that you mentioned that. You know, it's not about me putting my limitations on what you should be doing as a parent on you. At the end of the day, if you love doing what you're doing, that's all that's required. We don't need to have 1 million, you know, 1,000, whatever it is, followers. And you're a testament to that. You're obviously someone that is very grounded in what you love doing, which is the art and being a mother and everything else. And that is the path of a real artist, I think, you know, just loving what you do. So,
and because I didn't look before Eric, I didn't know what love was. I really didn't know. I didn't know until I felt it. We think that love is something that we're going to receive, right? From somebody else. I spent my whole life wanting someone else to love me, for me. But when Eric came into my life and I looked down at this incredible being And I felt these overwhelming emotions. I was like, whoa. So it's not about someone loving me. It's about me feeling the love. And it was unconditional, and it's unconditional now. You know, this incredible source energy that came from him, this, you know, this little being that came in, the purity, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care whether I get a boob job. He doesn't care whether I get my lips done. He doesn't care whether I win the voice. He doesn't care, you know, actually he doesn't want me to be with anybody. he wants me all to himself. Yeah. Doesn't care that whether I have, oh, sorry, one moment. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so he doesn't care whether I'm anything. He just wants to know that I love him, no matter what mood he's in, no matter what happens, that I'm going to be there. And that's my one job as a parent, is to be there for him no matter what. And I'm not saying that I always get it right. I'm not going to lie. I don't always get it right. But I'm definitely striving to get it right. I'm relentless. You know, if it's an hour where I can still reach out and call someone, I call them. I call out and I reach out for help straight away. If I don't know something, there's someone that does. And you need to be humble enough and courageous enough to say, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. But he damn well needs me to try and be it. So I'm going to try as hard as I can, you know. So I you know, and I've struggled with a lot of other mothers who
I just got to say, someone just complimented you, saying you look like Angelina Jolie, you know. And I know that's not something you need here, but it's always nice, you know.
Oh, that's one of the greatest compliments. Thank you. I love her.
There you go, Christopher.
So much.
You brought a smile to her dial. What a beautiful smile. But
that is so sweet.
But you know, that's also, just to perhaps just wind things down, that's something that's always intrigued me. Like, I actually thought you were Italian when I first saw you. I don't know, but I know you have a very diverse, well, ethnic background. Do you want to tell us about your ethnicity?
Yeah, my dad's Middle Eastern.
Huh.
My dad's Middle Eastern. So, Dad, was it Palestine or Jordan? Parents from Palestine, and he was born in Jordan.
Oh, wow.
He was born in Jordan, yeah. So I'm half Italian, half Arabic.
Okay. So I was I was kind of right. Italian, Arabic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everyone thinks I'm South American, and when they see me dance, you know, samba or lambada or, you know, any of those South American dances, they always thought I was, you know, Argentinian or something. It's crazy.
I haven't seen you dance yet, you know, because I mean, I'd imagine
most people know
you. Yeah, most people know. Because I got some moves as well, you know. I got some, yeah.
Oh, but, I know you got some moves.
But yeah, I think most people know you from The Voice for your singing, but obviously as a performer, you have many talents. And yeah, I love just how passionate you are about what you do, and it comes across in every aspect of your life. Obviously, with your child, with your music, and obviously with your dancing. And Sabrina, you are an inspiration. If there is something that you can I guess say to people out there that are struggling between, you know, two worlds, between wanting to live this life of being a star, trying to get attention, and also I guess yeah, trying to do something where they are authentic enough just to be themselves. I mean, how would you bridge that gap for people? Like, what advice can you give for people that are struggling with what society wants from them and what they want from themselves?
I would say that you need to question your motives before you step into the musical world. Question your motives. What are you expecting, and why do you need it? If you're wanting to find love, if you're wanting to be seen and heard, question whether or not turning into whatever it is the industry wants you to turn into, is that going to get you what you want? If you become something you're not, are you ever truly going to feel accepted and loved for you? The incentive. And what is it you want, and are you really going to get it? And is it going to be in alignment with your truth? And just go and research all the other famous artists. And I'm talking Michael Jackson, I'm talking Whitney Houston, Elvis Presley, the best of the best, and how they ended up and where they ended up. And is that what you want? Does fame, does popularity, fake popularity, is it going to nourish you in the way that you are needing? That's what I would say.
That's a great answer, you know, because I think sometimes the question is better than the actual answer. Because
I'm almost done. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's cool. I think that's a great way to end it. Sabrina, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very quiet person, but if people want to get a hold of you, perhaps stalk you, or just getting in touch with. No, obviously we do not want any stalking. That's a.
We don't need any more of those, please.
We don't need any more. You've had plenty of that. But I got your contacts. If people want to get a hold of you on the TikTok or Insta, I presume you're cool with that. Well, yeah, provided be respectful, people. Be respectful. You don't win a girl like this by being shallow. All right. All right, Sabrina Batshon, you are an absolute powerhouse of a musician, a human being, a mother, and it is an absolute honor to be able to call you my friend. And thank you for taking the time out to come on my podcast. I'm looking forward to sharing this. It's a nice change of pace, talking about just getting down to earth with what it's like just being a human being, as opposed to talking about all the external stuff that's going on in the world. So thank you for giving us perspective on your life's journey and just being the amazing person you are, Sabrina. God bless you.
I love you. I love you.
I love you too.
I love you. You are such a beautiful man. Honestly, thank you for having me. You're a beautiful man. You're so talented and you're so passionate. And everything that you see in me is just a mirror. And I want you to know that. It's all a mirror. You are, I think you're fantastic. I love what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. You're making me all giddy now. But I do appreciate the kind words. And I appreciate you so much for everything that you are. God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check her out. Until next time, everyone, peace out. Keep it real. Don't drive and text. Keep being the amazing people that you are. All the best, Sabrina. You take care.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. Mwah.
Bye.
All right.
You won't work it, don't break the press, you won't make it. I don't even care where this road leads.